Welcome back to, I guess, Horror Month on I Help Make That.
Woohoo!
Though I don't know if I should be naming it this late in the game because we only have like 2 more episodes in October to go. But it is, I guess, Horror Month. And you may be looking at the title and wondering, wait a minute, wasn't this woman already on the show? Well, I guess there's something spooky about the fact that I'm not able to find more guests. No, I'm just kidding. Uh, yes, she was, but believe it or not, she's back on the show to talk about her role as one of the students in the 1976 horror classic, Carrie. Thanks, Terry, for coming onto the show.
Oh, thanks for having me back. It's really fun. Yeah, I help make a lot of good stuff.
Yep. And before we get started, Terry, do you want to get the anchor ad out of the way?
Sure.
Okay, so you know what could have prevented Carrie from burning down the prom? Maybe. Actually, probably not, but maybe.
What?
Well, maybe if instead of having her boyfriend take her to the prom, Sue and Tommy could have befriended Carrie and they could have listened to some podcasts together. Well, it was the 70s, so that couldn't be possible. It would be more like TV shows. But if they make another Carrie remake, because there's been a bazillion of them, maybe the next time, instead of doing the whole prom date thing, they should befriend each other and listen to some podcasts together, don't you think?
Yeah, then they'd be safe at home.
Yeah. But you know what? Any podcasters or say aspiring podcasters could use to create that podcast that they could all listen to together?
What might that be?
Anchor. You know why Anchor?
Why?
It is the easiest podcasting platform to use. All you do is sign up for an account, then you can record and upload on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all those platforms. So, if you want to decrease the chances of Carrie White burning down her high school prom in the next Carrie remake or reboot or whatever they plan on doing, maybe try Anchor today. All
Sounds
right.
good.
But thank you again, Terry, for coming on to the show.
Oh, sure. Glad to be here.
Now, Terry, I heard some interesting trivia about the Carrie auditions. I heard that they shared a room with the Star Wars auditions. So, did you audition for Star Wars?
No, I never actually went on an audition, but actually I used to work in casting and this happens quite frequently. It's like they will interview someone and be considering them for several different things. So, I know that happened when I was working casting with Big Wednesday, and we were also looking at people for Star Wars. So when Carrie Fisher came in, we were looking at her for Big Wednesday, and Steven Spielberg, was looking at her for Star Wars. So that happens frequently.
Okay. So, unfortunately, you were never considered for Princess Leia?
No, not me.
Oh, well. But how did that job at the casting office lead to you being in Carrie?
Well, there's two separate things, actually. Working in the casting office got me into a Big Wednesday and a lot of other things at Warner Brothers. But I got cast in Carrie because the casting director, Harriet Hellberg, was married to one of my Groundling cohorts, Sandy Hellberg, and she cast 4 Groundlings in Carrie. Doug Cox was the Beak, and Edie McClurg as Helen, and then myself and Cynthia Schuler were two of the girls in the class, in the gym class.
Yeah, for people who may not know, back in the 70s, the Groundlings hosted a lot of like people who would come go on to be big names. Like,
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, like I believe Paul Rubens was there back in the 70s. I know Phil Hartman was a groundling. I don't know if it was the 70s or 80s. So yeah, everyone, we are not in the universe where Pee Wee Herman was in Carrie.
Lorraine Newman was the first breakout star from the Groundlings. She got discovered, plucked off the stage, our little 30-seat house stage where we're first doing our shows. And so that started it all. And ever since, they're still picking people from the Groundlings for Saturday Night Live. It's just an amazing roster of talent. If you go on the Groundlings website and you can click on alumni, and you can see from all the different time periods, all the different people who got their start at the Groundlings. So it's pretty exciting to have had a hand in establishing that company.
That's got to be kind of interesting because the Groundlings was a comedy troupe and Carrie's a horror movie. So was that kind of like odd? Like, do you know if they were like, really, you want comedians for this horror movie? Like, do you know if there were any like rumblings about that or?
That's an interesting point. I really didn't think about that, but I think being improvisational had something to do with it. And because Harriet knew us and knew what we could do, and of course Doug was perfect for the part, and uh, Edie was a great character type, and then I didn't have lines, but then myself and Cynthia, we were part of the core group of girls that were mean to Carrie, and I think she just liked our types and knew that we could, improvise and be in a scene. I mean, we worked on it for a long time, so, and there was a lot of shots of us, so she could be confident that we could do the job and add to that the background cast, because we were in it a lot. If you see the movie, I mean, most people who are fans of the movie have seen it many times, and so I'm very recognizable. And I should have been upgraded, but I wasn't.
Yeah, that's another interesting thing I noticed on your IMDb page, which is that this is like the one time you have a character who has a name. Trudy
Yeah,
Boy.
my IMDb page is rather incomplete. A friend did it for me, and I don't know how to do all that stuff. But anyway, it was a while before I realized that I did have a character. And because when they're calling the roll call, like the next day after they throw the tampons at Carrie, and Betty Buckley's calling out names, and she says born, and I go here. So I do have a line. I do, and I have a name. And in the book, yeah, there's a character name. So yeah, so I'm Trudy Bourne.
Most, pretty much 99.99% of you were adults playing teenagers. Now, I have done that a few times in the background and actually in the foreground too. I was on a Discovery Channel show recently where I played, not recently, like back in 2017, where I played like a teenager who killed his parents, well, was framed for killing his parents. But I've also been in like the background on SNL and
Cool.
this I think Showtime show that's coming up where I played a high school kid. And nowadays it's like a mix of adults in the background and just actual and sometimes actual teens. But back in the 70s, was it? I noticed some people who are clearly not teenagers in the background. How so? Like, was that kind of awkward that you were supposed to be these kids, but obviously weren't? But sorry, not I shouldn't say obviously, but weren't.
Well, everyone was well into their 20s and late 20s, and I think Sissy was 27. Uh, Edie McClurg was 32. I mean, I don't know why. I mean, Edie did not look like a teenager, but I don't know, for some reason it worked because of her character, and she's such a good actress. But I was always doing college and high school well into my 30s because I'm short, and when you're in the background, you can't tell, and I look young. So yeah, I was always playing a lot younger. But yeah, we were the world's oldest teenagers. Yeah. Well, a lot of times, it costs more to use children, or people under 18, because you have to hire a teacher, you have to hire a stand-in, or someone to read lines for them, and they can't work too many hours, so it's difficult. You need a social worker on the set, and so yeah, so they'll always, a lot of time, casting will say 18, wait, over 18 to look younger. So I was always doing things like that a lot. I worked on the paper chase, and all those high school and college things all through the 70s and 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I
Yeah.
wanted to say about Carrie,
Yep.
for a horror theme show that we're doing here. We didn't really think of it as a horror film when we were working on it, because there was nothing really scary on the set until you got to the prom scene. So it was just this story about this weird girl, and her not so nice classmates. And so it wasn't until we started filming the prom scene that things got kind of hairy.
Yeah. So beforehand, I want to ask. I've read that Sissy Spacek kind of kept herself separate from the other actors. Is that true?
Yeah, and every once in a while, though, like if she was sitting in the makeup chair and people were around, she'd be real sweet and friendly. Her usual Texas nice gal. And so we got to chat with her a little bit, but she did keep herself separate from the other actors, and just so that unfamiliarity, played better, and just for her own inner work, she needed to do that.
Mm-hmm. All right. So then, yeah, let's talk about uh, the prom scene, because that's probably the most ambitious scene you were part of, right? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it was very interesting, and it was quite a lesson in filmmaking, because the ads were great, and they were always explained to us, okay, well, we're doing this now, we're doing that now, and that was so long ago, and the things that were new at the time are, I mean, the things they do now, this is light years, but with drones and CGI and everything, but the Luma crane was new at the time, and this really freed up the camera. It's like you could put that camera anywhere. And there's this one shot, and if your listeners don't really know about it, next time you watch the movie, just really watch this, pay attention. There's this one long shot, tracking shot. There's not a cut at all, and it goes from PJ Souls going around collecting the ballots. So the camera follows her all around the whole room, and then she collects all the ballots, and then she tosses them under the stage and kicks them under the stage, and then the camera goes up the side of the flat of the stage, and then up to the top and onto the rafters, and looking down on the bucket of blood, and down on Tommy and Carrie. And there's not a cut in it. I forget how long it is, but it's just one continuous shot. We had to do it a few times, but the camera was on a crane, and it turned, and so it could do anything. It could go anywhere you wanted it to go, and we had to rehearse it a couple times, and they shot it a couple times. But really watch for that next time you see it. There's not a cut. It's just one long shot.
Yeah, but how was it like filming that scene with so many extras? Like, was it like what was sort of just in general that atmosphere like?
It was a big party. It was like, a 12 or 14-hour party. It was really a lot of fun. And a lot of the people were there the whole time. Sometimes people came and went, but so you got to make friends. And so it was kind of like being at school. And but like I said, Brian and the ADs, they were very, very precise, letting us know everything that was going to happen and how we all had to do everything exactly the same. And, so it was like a class, before we shot, where they would tell us everything and what they needed from us. And, so it was really intensive, and you really felt a part of it. A lot of times when you work background, you just feel like, oh, you're just a body, you're just there. But on this, and because I worked on it for so long, you really felt like you were making a contribution, and that you were really working on something, and creating this thing all together. It was really a wonderful experience, and it was one of my very first experiences too.
How was it picking a prom dress?
Kevin,
Or
I gotta tell you, I hated that freaking dress. First of all, whoever heard of a long sleeve prom dress? Okay, and the fabric was like plastic. It was horrible, and it's not anything I would have picked out for myself. And I just thought it was hideous, and I had to wear it like 10, 12 hours a day for weeks. Of course they cleaned it, but I think, and I think I get the idea from what other people have said. It's like nobody could look as good or better than Carrie. So you had to look kind of dorky, because Carrie had to look like the princess. You know what I mean? And her dress was so beautiful, and it was so simple and lovely, and the color and the style and everything. And so everybody else had to look, like several levels, worse than her, below that, just so she looked so much better than everybody else. But no, when they handed me that dress, I just thought, are you kidding me?
yeah, yeah, I've always thought this about that dress. Looks more like pajamas than a prom dress.
Well, it kind of reminds me of in the 60s, there was a style called granny dresses, and they were
Hmm.
like, kind of like prairie dresses, flowered and long. And so it reminded me of those 60s granny dresses, which
Hmm.
at the time I liked them, and I was a lot younger then, but it wasn't even that cute.
Yeah, I was on the Gilded Age, and I hated what they put on me.
Oh, really?
Uh,
You were in that? Oh, fabulous.
yeah, but I had to wear these suspenders, and taking them off to use the bathroom took forever.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes period costumes can be difficult.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess anyway, how was it filming the prom massacre itself? How was that staged, and how did that go?
Wow, that took a really long time. And as you know, filmmaking is very tedious and very time consuming. And it's like in the page of a script, it's like you're only doing a couple pages a day. You're only getting like 2 or 3 minutes of the movie, each day. And so everything you see had to be done, separately, and one scene at a time, and it shot several times. And yeah, so it was very tedious. And there are a lot of times when you're sitting outside the set and you're like, what is going on in there? What are they? And then, they'll call you in, and so then they're going to film this part of the room, or they're going to do this gag or whatever. And so, yeah, it was very tedious. It really was. And then when they got to the water and the fire, that was dangerous. And so we had a lot of safety people on the set. And as you know, PJ did get injured with the
Hmm.
water in her ear. And the fire, I was never that close to the fire. I think my character was kind of out of it before it really caught fire. And then my friend Cynthia, my groundling friend, was in there, and she goes, "Oh my God, he's crazy!" because she felt she was a little too close to the fire. Oh my God, he's crazy.
Was the prom massacre the final thing you filmed?
Oh gosh. That's hard to remember. Probably was. Probably was. I mean, most people know that movies are not shot in sequence. Once in a while they will, but most of the time they don't. But that could have been. Could have been. It's hard to
Hmm.
say. It's a long time ago, so I don't really remember if we did anything else after that.
All
Yeah,
right.
I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah. And seeing as you were someone who, wasn't a lot of scenes in that movie, do you remember how many weeks it took to film?
I know I worked on it for quite a long time, several weeks. I don't know, 3, 4, 5, 6. It was quite a long stretch of time, uh, as I recall. And we were all so thrilled to have such a good job, and working long hours and for over a long period of time. I guess that stuff is all look upable. You can find out how long everything took to shoot and everything. But it was several weeks. Maybe a month and a half.
Hmm. So I've actually read, uh, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but that Carrie was filmed in 1976, the same year it came out. Is that true or false?
I'm trying to think. Well, I went from Carrie to Big Wednesday, so 76 to 77. Yeah, probably. Trying to think of what time of year it was. It's hard to remember. That means that they got it out there pretty quickly.
When did you first know that people noticed you from Carrie?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Well, because people who really like the movie see it so many times, and because I'm in it so much, I am recognizable. I mean, I do look different today, but I was working at my most recent job, my last job, at the Dearly Departed tours, and somebody came in, and I was checking people in for the tours, and um, they said, "Weren't you in Carrie?" Oh my God, I got recognized, and so that's happened to me a few times. Yeah,
Hmm.
a few times.
Yeah, and I believe I saw, like, maybe I don't know. Have you ever gone to conventions because of it, or?
No, and I wouldn't rule it out. And also because of Big Wednesday, because Big Wednesday has a big cult following as well. And other people I know do them, and I would if somebody asked me, but not on my by myself.
Hmm.
If there was like a group of us or something like that, or if I went with some of the other characters, that would be cool. I think it'd be really fun, and because I think those are great, and I know a lot of people who do them, and it's just a wonderful thing for both the performers and the fans, and I think it's a wonderful thing, and yeah, I would do one if it happened, if someone asked me, or if yeah, I'd love to.
Yeah, and also speaking of that, now as I'm sure you're aware, they've like adapted, remade, reboot Carrie like several times. Like there's a musical, there was a sequel in the 90s, there was a made for TV remake in the 2000s, there was a remake in 2013. I think I heard recently they're remaking it into a mini series. I don't know if that's still in production, but like, has anyone ever asked for your opinion on that?
Oh no, not really. I mean, just in conversation with people, with friends or whatever. But I haven't seen any of the remakes. I don't really want to. Although I have to admit, I did go see a small local production of the musical, and I liked it. And the remaking it, it shows that it's a really good story. So if people feel it's worthy of a remake, but it's hard. You can't top it. Remakes usually aren't that good. I mean, it's a big order to fill. Come on, Sissy Spacek and Piper Laurie. I mean,
Well, yeah, I'll say this. I haven't seen most of them, but I did see the 2013 remake. I
mhm.
didn't like it. I thought Chloe Grace Moretz tried too hard, even though she is a good actress, don't get me wrong, usually, but here she felt kind of like, and I hate to sound mean saying this, but like a drama, like she was kind of doing a, how do I say this? Like the kind of performance you'd expect someone to give as Carrie White in like a drama club production of Carrie the musical.
Got it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I will say that Julianne Moore actually did a pretty good job and I think was pretty equal to Piper Laurie. She was one of the film's bright spots.
I don't want to upset you.
So you're a woman now. And God made Eve from the rib of Adam. And what, Carrie? Say it.
No, Mom.
Say it.
Talk to me.
Say it.
Please, just talk
And
to me.
Eve was weak.
Just talk to
And
me,
the
please.
first sin
I just want you to talk
was
to
the
me.
sin of intercourse.
And the first sin was the sin of intercourse, Mama.
Say it.
Why didn't you tell me, Mama?
And
Mama,
God
please.
gifted Eve with a
It
curse,
hurts.
and the curse was a curse of blood.
I'm not gonna say that. That's not even in the Bible. It doesn't say that anywhere.
Help this little girl see the sin of her days and ways. Show her she's made innocent. The curse of blood would not have come upon her as it did upon Eve.
Speaking of remakes, I was thinking recently about A Star is Born,
Mhm.
and that's been made 4 times now. And of course, because it's a very good story. And I only had seen the Lady Gaga one, and I liked it. And I thought she's a really good actress, and I loved her in House of Gucci as well. But I hadn't, and then I saw the Barbara Streisand one, and God, that was a weird movie. Uh,
Mhm.
I don't know. It just there's something off about it, and so I haven't seen the other two. So I need to see them all. So I don't know, for not really caring for remakes. Since I saw the latest one, I feel like I have to go back um, and see and back to the original because
Yeah.
it's such a good story. But I did really like the Lady Gaga one.
Yeah. I will say that not all remakes are bad. They're like sequels. Like half the time they just feel very generic and I wouldn't say that, there's no effort put into them. Like, because I'm sure people are just doing the best they can, but they don't have maybe the passion the originals do. And then there are half that actually do try, new things and are actually, can help at least stand pretty equally with the original. Actually, going back to 2013, I'm not a fan of Ansel Elgort as an actor. He played Tommy Ross, and he was the main guy in the new West Side Story.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the main guy from the new West Side
I,
Story was Tommy Ross in the 2013 Carrie.
oh, okay.
Yeah, but when I saw the remake of West Side Story, I was like, it's funny how he's been in two remakes now, and it's like one is like the first type of remake that people just dread every remake to be, and then now he's in this remake, which actually does have heart
Hmm.
put into it. Just in general, even if most of the attempts at sort of rebooting or remaking or sequelizing Carrie haven't been successful, there have been other movies that have sort of been influenced by Carrie. You probably haven't seen them, but there's one called Pearl, basically about this girl in the 20s. I think it was like the 20s or 30s. She lives with sort of her abusive mother and comatose father, and she just wants to sort of leave leave her the farmland behind and be a star, but her mother like kind of refuses to let her go, and she just sort of, you know, I shouldn't say goes crazy. Like, what is the politically correct term for this? Well, she ends up killing a bunch of people.
Oh, okay.
So that's kind of, and that was a pretty good movie.
Kind
Uh, and then there was Chronicle, which is about a teenage boy who, again, abusive father. He has an abusive father. He doesn't have many friends at school. But then he develops superpowers. He becomes and it seems like he's becoming popular, but he realizes the kids aren't are kind of making fun of him behind his back, and he's still dealing with his abusive father, and it kind of just develops again into him becoming a murderer. So it's like sort of a weird phenomenon where like, and that was a pretty good movie, did well at the box office. But it is sort of a weird phenomenon where the best Carrie remakes aren't even like direct Carrie remakes. Or at least the most well-received Carrie remakes aren't actually, you know, direct attempts at remaking Carrie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's interesting. Variations on a theme where you take the abused child who later, acts out in
Mm-hmm.
society. And so you could see that playing out in a lot of different ways, and so that's no surprise. That someone would use those themes over and over again. Yeah, I haven't seen those, but yeah, that's interesting. That you can tell that it's kind of based on Carrie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think that is a perfect place to end for today. But thank you so much, Terry, for coming on again.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and Terry, do you have anything to plug?
I don't. I am happily retired, so just take it easy out there, people.
All right.
Yeah. So yeah, nothing coming up here, but just enjoying my retirement
All
and
right.
enjoying talking about film.
Okay. Well, everyone, that was I helped make that, and I'll see you all later.
Bye bye.